Dario, you're sitting.
All right. So let's keep to the schedule. I think that people are hearing us now, right?
Should we wait?
Well, I think that they will miss the best part, right?
Should we predict this?
So let's start with the title at least. So good morning again, and we have a fantastic panel in front of us, which is how pharma brands can spark through conversations using AI. Three panelists. Maybe we can start with Sam. So Sam, how are you doing? Do you enjoying the weather?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Great to be here. My first Next Pharma conference. My name's Sam Pinner. I'm the Digital Transformation Director at GSK.
Thanks a lot. Vanitha?
Hi everyone, I'm Vanitha, working with Novo Nordisk as a digital health and customer engagement lead for serious chronic disease franchise. So really excited to be back here. Thanks, Dario.
So that's a new role.
Yeah, exactly.
Compared to last year. And Danilo also with a new role.
Yes, I'm Global Head of Customer Engagement at Sandoz. Thanks, Dario, for inviting me. I was here for the very first Next event. That was a few years ago. So happy to be here again and to share my thoughts with the audience. Same disclaimer as few folks early this morning. This is, personal opinion here, not with the head of Sandoz. But by the way, I will have a presentation tomorrow where I can share more about the plans of my organization.
Okay, fantastic. So we see that the audience is coming and showing up. So let's start with the first question, which is, let's focus on predictive AI, because that certainly is where pharma is strong, we have to be honest, right? Why to use AI in overall for creating meaningful conversations? Maybe we can start with you, Vanitha.
Cool. So thanks for fencing the scope, Dario. So we are not going to chat about ChatGPT here, and nor are we going to talk about the weather prediction, right? Because maybe we'll have to tell the weather department to use an AI tool.
Or the conference organizer.
Exactly. Yeah. So why we should use AI, right? So recently I have shifted into the commercial team, and I feel definitely more connected and closer to business than ever before. And the first thing that I noticed when I moved in a digital role into the commercial team is the amount of business challenges and needs are only increasing exponentially, right? And the patient waterfall in terms of how many patients are diagnosed versus treated versus have access to our medicines are not looking great. And then we also have the omnichannel conundrum where we are all talking about transforming our pharma industry from multichannel to omnichannel. And then we are generating data after data. We are talking a lot about data, right? And imagine when we have so much of data and we no longer can use an Excel sheet to create graphs and charts to make decisions. What do we do then, right? So for me, the biggest or the common application of AI is when your data becomes big data or complex data enough that the human brain cannot just process it. So we need help. And I think that's where we have a lot of machine learning tools available out there in the open, like machine learning as a software platforms are out there, and which we can use it quite easily. You don't have to be a big expert to use it. You just make your machine learning algorithms teach how to use or process that complex data or big data and actually create some meaningful applications, which we call as AI, right, like today, and then help and use it for decision making. And there are many applications which we can dive into. So for me, the biggest use of AI is to process complex data, to lead it into something meaningful, which the human brain cannot process anymore.
That's a good point, but the issue is, based on those insights, we many times don't know how to interpret them, right? So Sam, let's build on that.
Yeah, maybe to expand on that a little, I think obviously we have multiple customer touch points, websites, webinars, reps in the field, MSLs in the field. All of that generates data, and I know within my organization, one of the figures we've got is we generate around 6 terabytes of customer data every day. And so the point just made there, you can't possibly analyze that in an Excel spreadsheet and pull meaningful insights that generates future actions. So I think being able to use AI and algorithms and business rules at simplest sort of form, to be able to analyze that data, pull insights out, and be able to generate actions then as to what makes the difference with healthcare professionals is vitally important. And I think typically, most sets of data, not always structured and not always labeled, so we can't actually do anything with that data. With the new algorithms that we've got with AI, we can. They're able to process that unstructured, unlabeled data, pull out meaningful trends to then generate actions. And I think that differentiates the two bits of content we're putting out to customers that just doesn't have any impact. It's just creating noise and potentially frustrating customers versus the content that really does have an impact, adds value to the healthcare professional. And I think it's that distinction where AI definitely generates more meaningful conversations with healthcare professionals.
Yeah, and we all know that GSK is doing a lot of AI tasks and pilots currently, right? So you're quite successful in that regard.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot on the go at the moment. We obviously, ChatGPT really sort of revolutionised things. I think simple model, people really bought into ChatGPT. And the companies put a sort of block on it and said, look, actually no company information goes into that. What we have got is a sandbox that people can put a service ticket in for, apply for, and they can actually use to evaluate the technology. Within that, we've got a couple of examples. We've got natural language processing that's being applied to all of the call records in our CRM system. And we're actually recording sales calls so that they can be used, natural language processing, to work out what impact that sales call's had, how well the representative has performed in the call.
So for coaching, more or less, right?
Yeah, mainly for coaching, but then for increasing impact and maybe addressing any unmet needs that emerge throughout the call. And then we've also got a sort of curated data set. So trawling all of our approved clinical data about one of our respiratory products, we're building a sort of medical information chatbot, but it only speaks to the content that it's being fed. It's not going to give you a general answer or a biased answer that might come from the large language models that exist. It's only from a curated data set. So we're giving approved information to the healthcare professional rather than an answer they might get from ChatGPT, for example.
Thank you, Sam. Danilo?
Yeah, I mean, Dario, when you say, meaningful conversation, for me, it's really, to be very prodigal, the right message to the right customers on the right channel at the right time, right? And building on what Sam was saying, it's really a lot about elaborating data and analyzing data and then drive afterwards meaningful conversation. Now, in an omnichannel setting, this is the hybrid world, right? So we do address our communication towards 100,000 of physicians, not only physicians, can be pharmacists and other stakeholders. If you consider as Sandoz, we serve 500 million patients. So imagine how many physicians we have to engage. AI can help a lot because if we go around and we say that we can address the right conversation at individual level, this cannot be done on a human scale, right? So we need some kind of mechanisms or algorithms to say, okay, for this specific customer, no matter if this is a face-to-face interaction or is a digital interaction, because we are more in a hybrid world, that means everything can be orchestrated into different channels, we exactly know what this type of profile is looking for in terms of communication. And this is driving our content strategy. Even more if you think about product launch. When you launch a product in a new specialty, you don't even know your target customers. And so predictive AI can tell you, listen, for this specific new target audience, this type of communication, this channel can be the right one. So we have now, talking about segmentation and targeting in commercial, a new dimension that is the attitudinal segmentation, the behavioral segmentation. And this is very much driven by AI and will be more and more driven by AI, predictive AI in the future.
Good point. I mean, I think that only a year ago, no one knew what is coming, right? ChatGPT certainly put us in the era of AI, like also the colleague Stephanie from Google mentioned it. So this is certainly just the start of the whole revolution, right? But do you have maybe the impression and feeling that AI is overhyped and overused? Because at the end of the day, we work with patients, we work with HCP, so it's more or less a human to human, right? So where actually should we cross the border between hype and between real implementation of AI in that H2H environment? Sam?
Yeah, I do. I think the term artificial intelligence or AI is a very big catch-all. And within that, there are different grades of sophistication of AI. So it's from simple sort of business rules and algorithms all the way through to machine learning, deep learning, and then the sort of unsupervised generative AI that's come with sort of ChatGPT. So I think it's not overhyped in that there is a lot of dimension to artificial intelligence. And I think some of the things coming, for example, Microsoft Copilot, so a tool there to be able to effectively help you to build presentations, to organize your day, summarize meeting notes. That's certainly not overhyped. I can see business use cases for that today. And I think that will free up time that's spent doing sort of almost administrative tasks at the moment for the people in those roles, maybe marketeers, to spend more time on really meaningful campaigns. So I don't think it's overhyped. I think it's actually going to be very revolutionary. I think I've heard very frequently the analogy between going from a 56K dial-up modem to broadband. And when you remove those resource constraints of an organization, who knows what's possible? You know, what you used to be able to download on a 56K modem used to take forever. Broadband now, the information's instantly accessible at a much faster scale. And I think with AI, I don't think it's overhyped. I think what we'll be going to is something that's really transformational.
So it's just the beginning. Danilo?
Yeah, that you mentioned this morning in your opening, a lot of these buzzwords like, MBA, AI. Some of these are happening. I think MBA is something that is, beside the big hype, something more concrete and tangible. Especially when you mention this human-to-human interaction. I think reps are now starting seeing the benefit of this in the interaction, because through the MBA Next Best Action, AI, but we are still in the kind of analytical world. I mean, not the predictive one, right? So it's the step before. Then we can say, based on the huge amount of data, and again, I mean, it's really, I think, burning platform in the industry, at least from my angle, is this data lake or, the CDP and all the technology around that, because we need, years ago, I had a kind of prediction. I do my personal own prediction. I said, listen, we will see in the industry more two different type of person profiles. One is data scientists, and they're coming because, I mean, they were first only in the R&D environment, and now it's in commercial, because this huge amount of data that they have to analyze and to bring AI in that. And the second profile are legals, and they're also coming because, I mean, data is also bringing into the company a lot of complexity. And I usually say, hopefully there is no legal in the room. Legals are the antibody of the industry, because they are paid to say, no, cannot be done, this cannot be done. But back to AI, yes, the analytical element is already in place, we can say. Prediction is, I mean, it sounds a little bit sci-fi to me still. It's coming, it's more, I mean, there are, I think, some things that is happening like in US where I've been part of a project where we were predicting abandon rate of physicians on specific drug or treatment, but it's still experimental. So let's say that there are hypes, things are happening on in some cases very quickly, in some others, I mean, on a slower adoption, but it's a reality, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, mentioning about AI, I think that it really gets extremely accelerated, because if you look, for the very first time, we again have the Moore law, which is applicable, because just as example, ChatGPT within 8 months, it's uncomparable. They already have a 4.0 version, right? Yeah. It's absolutely Moore law in place, right? So, Vanitha?
So, yeah, whether AI is overhyped, right? So, my take is, yes, when we use the word AI, it kind of divides people, right? Like, maybe not in this room, but in the world that I sit in, and the commercial team, and like people think it's really far-fetched, it's futuristic. It's like, we have to fix a lot of basics is what we hear. But when I reflected on this point, actually, we are kind of surrounded by AI more than what we think. Let's take many examples, right? Whether it's your retail choices or entertainment choices, or if it's your any choice that you want to do for your music through Spotify, it is recommending to us. When you use all these apps like Netflix, Amazon, Spotify, you are getting recommendations all the time, right? And now recently, Google launched Help Me Write, which is of course not predictive AI, but generative AI, but then we are surrounded by AI, and it's nothing to fear about. I don't think it's a big overhype, but I want to give a couple of tangible applications which we are exploring in Novo. So the first one is how we can integrate AI in the account activity planning for sales reps. So for example, we have created a tool which actually kind of predicts in which, what kind of multi-channel activity if you do, how much of sales uplift can you get in a specific areas of, what are the potential bricks in which there could be better sales uplift. Now taking that as a point of departure, we then put some KPIs in our account activity planning, and some of our large affiliates have begun to test this already, and it's been being used, and actually the field force is giving amazing feedback about how this tool is helping them steer their activity and their conversations actually with the doctors, right? So, and then use some sort of a customer 360 dashboard, which we also have, to understand how the hybrid model of engagement is happening. So if I want to meet, let's say, with the Dr. Dario, I already know when I'm going and visiting you what kind of engagements I've done with you. And then I also know you belong to a brick where the sales uplift potential is high. Now I steer my conversation with you in a meaningful way, and then I'm able to create some sort of an impact using AI as a point of departure, right? And then, and imagine if I already have some sort of a next best action, like what am I supposed to speak to you? What am I supposed to show you? Like, I know you have not visited our HCP portal for ages, then probably I'll speak to you about that, and then go back and test if my HCP portal visit is actually, you know, if you have even visited us. So this is how we are integrating it. Another interesting application which has caught my attention recently is also in the digital health space. Somebody here mentioned about how we need to keep patient at the center of everything, right? We need to think about patient centricity and also improving their patient outcomes. So I think the next hot application of AI is in the digital health space, where you can help in the clinical decision support to improve patient outcomes, because there's a lot of wearables, apps, a lot of patient data, connected devices that's all over us, which has generated a lot of data, which qualifies it to get into the AI application mode. So we can use it to predict some patterns about like patient adherence. We can monitor patients, and we can actually initiate those dialogues between a doctor and a patient to improve their treatment outcomes. And I don't see this is going to be a very futuristic. It's just coming. We are very committed to doing all this stuff in the digital health space. So these are the two applications which I think is super tangible, and I'm very excited about these two.
Please. If I can add something to what Vanitha said, I think it's, and on your first example, right? So to me, the critical element when it comes to AI is also the interaction with humans, right? Exactly. So how the humans, in this case, the sales rep, are embrace the overall technology. And it's not only a sales rep case, because, I mean, behind we have the entire value chains. That means the marketing people in the country, the medical people, all, you know, the stakeholders around the table. And this is crucial because the way AI lands into this organization, I mean, will say a lot about the future adoption. So colleagues mentioned this, I think early this morning, the change management element is crucial. No matter how, you know, effective and powerful is technology, if this is not embraced in the right way, I mean, it will never work. And,
exactly.
It's a little bit, you know, black and white. I think I have a mixed feeling about that. There are, within the commercial organization, that is my angle, of course, some cases where the adoption was good, and you know, sales rep, the users, the final user, were very surprised, as Vanitha was saying, right? I mean, a good feedback. And other cases where there was a skepticism, right? I mean, and this fear that AI can replace in the long run sales rep, saying, I mean, if I have someone who is telling me every day what is my tool for the day and what should I say when I meet my customers, why do they need me in the future? So this, the change element factor is still the most critical one. It's the tipping point.
And there we fail a lot. Okay. Last question, pipe dream. So what will be the pipe dream when we speak about AI, predictive analytics, or even AGI, like they mentioned it, right? I mean, how actually we can really have a pipe dream in commercial and go-to-market strategy when we speak about AI implementation? Maybe we can start with you, Danilo, this time.
Yeah, in my view, listen, I'm a prodigal person, so I still believe that this promise, when we deliver, I mean, I joined recently Sandoz, and you know, I think the agreement was, okay, let's deliver the omnichannel transformation in the company. And when people, you know, are, you know, in the audience, there is, and say, what do you mean by that? And I always say the same story. And the story is, we want to deliver the right content to the right customer, on the right channel, at the right time. And they say, how do we do that, right? Because we have 100,000 of customers out there. And I mean, there is a trend in the industry where, I mean, you are kind of, you know, having more lean markets, more agile team in the country. So this is a contradiction in itself, right? And then the answer is technology, of course, plays a big role, and AI can help a lot, because if we will be able to, again, through this huge amount of data, the data lake and all the technology behind, we will be able to select at individual level. This is the crucial point. We need to address every single individual out there with the right content. That means we should know his habits or her habits and content consumption, and then be ready to discuss the right discussing points with them, either through a medical reps, so with the human interactions, or digital channels. And we are not there today, right? I mean, but the idea is that AI can help us into this big kind of step ahead.
Maybe also compliance is having the answer. So
Yes, and with the pace of legal, of course, they will have their own AI just to kind of monitor us. I'm sure about that.
Let's develop an AI for a legal team.
For me, I think the first thing to point out is make sure we keep sight of why we do what we do. And I think it was pointed out earlier in one of the presentations about the patient, about making sure that daughter gets to her wedding, maybe daughter gets to graduation as well. So that's vitally important. The patients come first, and the technology we've got, AI, whatever else comes next, doesn't get in the way of that, and we're not doing technology for technology's sake. That said, I think building on that sort of foundation, making sure that we're generating really highly personalized, relevant content to healthcare professionals, doing everything we aspire to now, but better, more effectively, more efficiently. I think that's the pipe dream initially for me. And then I think whatever else comes next, I think with AI, there'll be a whole bunch of uncharted opportunities that we can't even possibly begin to comprehend at the moment, which will come in time, and we'll start to realize those and start to make sensible use cases for them and implement the technology that's behind it as and when it's available. But I think first of all, we need to keep sight on the patients and make sure we're using the technology in the right way.
Good point, Sam. Thanks a lot. Vanitha?
I think we are fully on the same page here when it comes to the whole content point, right? And having been in the content space for a few years now, I think the next really hard application for AI is also content personalization, which I am a huge ambassador for. And I think also Novo is very much heading in that direction. Like, of course, we have tools as a decision support for our sales rep. The next one is as a decision support tool for our HCPs so that we can improve treatment outcomes, but also content personalization, because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, we are entering into new therapy areas, new launches. In fact, in the franchise that I come from, we have had no innovation for the last 20 years. I'm talking about Alzheimer's. And then we are talking about also NASH, which is a new category creation. And the area we are entering in NASH is, nobody even knows what NASH is. They don't even know. They ask me, oh, what is NASH?
What is NASH?
What is NASH?
Well, it's non-alcoholic steatostatus hepatitis.
Okay.
Steatohepatitis.
Good to know.
My team is going to listen to this, and I hope I've said it right. I'm not sure now. Right. So it's a new
We can edit it afterwards.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. So we are creating a new categories. That means we are entering into new customer groups, whom we don't even know what their preferences are. We don't even have competitors, but there's a huge unmet need, right? And there's a lot of things to solve for. So I think having a content personalization will truly help in these in the launch strategy for these new therapy areas that we are trying to enter into. So for me, that'll be a very tangible next use case for AI. And like you mentioned, there's so many other unexplored territories which we can think about, and before you know it would come in. But content personalization for sure. Hat tip for that.
Thanks a lot, Vanitha. We are left with 2 minutes, so we are taking questions. Mr. Lode. Microphone. Microphone is coming. This will be interesting for sure.
Setting expectations.
Thank you, Dario. Question on the panel. I'd be very interested if you think AI can help to fill two of the biggest gaps there are in pharma. One, between field and headquarters, and two, between countries. We talked about launches, between the one launch to the next launch, so how you can keep improving, which is two big gaps right now, headquarters and field, and let's say countries and headquarters.
I could maybe take a start at this one. So I think first of all there's an element of trust between the field force and headquarters. And I think first of all we'd have to overcome that trust. Certainly in my own organisation there's a big job to be done with change management, making sure that the representatives really embrace digital and aren't skeptical of how that digital information is going to be used by the organisation. There's a common feel, don't put too much in the CRM system because then the company's got more information than you as a rep, and then you as a rep are less valuable to the organisation. We need to get rid of that myth. That's not the case. So I think, first of all, once that bit's overcome, once the data's flowing and it's accurately purported from the field force back to global organisation, then the application of AI to be able to trawl through that data and pull out sort of meaningful insights, I think there's some big opportunities there. So I think, first of all, there's a barrier. Once that barrier is overcome, there's certainly opportunities to improve that global to field force model, anyway.
I can add to that, and I think, first of all, if we get people to not get uncomfortable with the word AI, we can definitely achieve something of it, like especially for launch excellence, right? So the pharma industry is not a new industry, right? It's one of the most oldest, it's one of the oldest industries, and there's definitely a lot of launches that has happened pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID. And I remember somebody came and presented to us how we can evolve our go-to-market model. And then one of the things is of how can we feed all this launch data into an AI sort of an application, and then predict whether if you are able to excel in your launch, and whether you'll be able to achieve peak sales, and just like, what is the average time it takes to achieve peak sales, and can we do something, what are some of the companies done to achieve it in probably a year? I think those kind of applications can be explored, which I think will really inspire our global, regional, and local colleagues, because for them, at the end of the day, they are not data agnostic. Everybody one thing I've noticed after going to the commercial team is they love data. It's not like they're not scared of data. They use data all the time, but just that how to make sense of that data, they know it for certain applications like forecasting, field force sizing, all the traditional commercial projects that you do, like whether you want to explore out-of-pocket opportunity, willingness to pay, they use data everywhere. But are they using data for launch? Are they using data for customer engagement? Are they using data for digital health applications is the question we need to inspire and ask them. But yes, why not? I think there is a big scope for that.
Thanks. And Danilo, just make it quick because...
Yeah, quickly, I mean, I have mixed feeling about that. I think, yes, in the medium, long term, in the short term, this is even getting in a bigger problem, because they are even more suspicious, right, when it comes to AI. I mean, I'm talking about people on the ground and the sales force and in the markets compared to headquarters, because the trend is that we centralize more, because we need to have this manpower, right, to analyze data and to get the right insight. So it's all about the narrative and change management. It's going to be a bumpy road, yeah, for sure.
Okay, we like bumpy roads, right?
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, and it was a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.